आदितः प्रजास्वधर्मनिरता वर्णाश्रमगुणान्विताः जुगोपपितृभद्रामो मेनिरे पितरं च तम् अगृहीत आसनं भ्रात्रा प्रणिपत्य प्रसादितः प्रजास्वधर्मनिरता वर्णाश्रमगुणान्विताः जुगोपपितृभद्रामो मेनिरे पितरं च तम् Agreed, accepted. Asanam, the throne of the state. Bhratra, by his brother. Bharata, Pranipatya, after fully surrendering unto him. Prasaditaha, having been pleased. Prajaha, and the citizens. Swadharma nirataha, fully engaged in their respective occupational duties. Varnashrama, according to the system of Varna and Ashrama. Guna anvitaha, all of them being qualified in that process. Jugopa, the Lord protected them. Pitravad, exactly like a father. Ramaha, Lord Ramachandra. Menire, they considered. Pitaram, exactly like a father. Cha, also. Tam, him, Lord Ramachandra. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Abhayacharana Aravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Being pleased by the full surrender and submission of Lord Bharata, Lord Ramachandra then accepted the throne of the state. He cared for the citizens exactly like a father, and the citizens, being fully engaged in their occupational duties of Varna and Ashrama, accepted him as their father. Please repeat the translation. Being pleased by the full surrender and submission of Lord Bharata, Lord Ramachandra then accepted the throne of the state. He cared for the citizens exactly like a father, and the citizens, being fully engaged in their occupational duties of Varna and Ashrama, accepted him as their father. Purport. People are very fond of the pattern of Ramarajya, and even today, politicians sometimes form a party called Ramarajya. But unfortunately, they have no obedience to Lord Rama. It is sometimes said that people want the kingdom of God without God. Such an aspiration, however, is never to be fulfilled. Good government can exist when the relationship between the citizens and the government is like that exemplified by Lord Ramachandra and his citizens. Lord Ramachandra ruled his kingdom exactly as a father takes care of his children, and the citizens, being obliged to the good government of Lord Ramachandra, accepted the Lord as their father. Thus, the relationship between the citizens and the government should be exactly like that between the father and son. When the sons in a family are well trained, they are obedient to the father and mother. And when the father is well qualified, he takes good care of the children, as indicated here by the words Swadharma Nirata Varnashtama Gunanvitaha. The people were good citizens because they accepted the institution of Varna and Ashrama, which arranges society in the Varna divisions of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the Ashrama divisions of Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyasa. This is actual human civilization. People must be trained according to the different Varnashtama occupational duties as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.13. Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagashaha. The four varnas must be established according to varying qualities and work. The first principle for good government is that it must institute this Varnashtama system. The purpose of Varnashtama is to enable people to become God conscious. Varnashtama charavata purushena parapuman Vishnur aradhyate. The entire Varnashtama scheme is intended to enable people to become Vaishnavas. Vishnur asya devata. When people worship Lord Vishnu as the Supreme Lord, they become Vaishnavas. Thus, people should be trained to become Vaishnavas through the system of Varna and Ashrama, as they were during the reign of Lord Ramachandra, when everyone was fully trained to follow the Varnashtama principles. Simply enforcing laws and ordinance cannot make the citizens obedient and lawful. That is impossible. Throughout the entire world, there are many states, legislative assemblies, and parliaments, but still the citizens are rogues and thieves. Good citizenship, therefore, cannot be enforced. The citizens must be trained. As there are schools and colleges to train students to become chemical engineers, lawyers, or specialists in many other departments of knowledge, there must be schools and colleges to train students to become Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, Brahmacharis, Grihasthas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis. This will provide the preliminary condition for good citizenship. Varnashrama Gunanvitaha. Generally speaking, if the king or president is a Rajarishi, the relationship between the citizens and the chief executive will be clear, and there will be no possibility of disruption in the state, because the number of thieves and rogues will decrease. In Kali Yuga, however, because the Varnashrama system is neglected, people are generally thieves and rogues. In the system of democracy, such thieves and rogues naturally collect money from other thieves and rogues, and thus there is chaos in every government, and no one is happy. But here, the example of good government is to be found in the reign of Lord Ramachandra. If people follow this example, there will be good government all over the world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta Purport and Translation to Canto 9, Chapter 10, Text 50 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणि प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Now in this part of Bhagavatam, the wonderful ruling and the system of government instituted by Lord Ramachandra will be described. So here it is described Agrahit asanam bratra. Lord Ramachandra Agrahit accepted asanam, the throne of Ayodhya. When did he accept? Why did he accept? Bratra, he accepted this throne from his brother. Pranipatya prasaditaha. Why did he accept? Prasaditaha. He was pleased, pranipatya, by the surrenderance, complete surrenderance and submission of Bratra, his younger brother, Lord Bharatha. So Lord Ramachandra agreed to accept the throne, being pleased by the surrender and submission of his brother, Bharata. That was the criterion of Lord Ramachandra accepting the throne. And how were the citizens when he took up this kingship? Praja Swadharma Niratha. They were fully engaged in their own occupational duties. Swadharma Niratha. They were engaged. The Praja, the citizens of Ayodhya, Niratha, they were fully engaged in Swadharma, their own respective occupational duties. And what was that? Varnashtama Gunanvitaha. And that is called, Swadharma is called Varnashtama, which was based on Gunanvitaha. Which was based on their own inclinations and quality of work. How did Lord Ramachandra relate or care for his praja? Jugopa Pitrivat Ramaha. Rama, Lord Rama, Jugopa gave protection to his citizens, Pitrivat, just like a father gives protection and cares for his own children. Then how did the citizens respond? Menire Pitaram Chatam. Menire. They, in reciprocation, Menire accepted Pitaram, the fatherhood of Lord Ramachandra. In other words, they accepted Lord Rama as their father. So Lord Rama treated his citizens as his own children. therefore gave complete care and protection. And the citizens also accepted Lord Rama as their loving father, although he was the ruler. So in this way, there could be perfect government, ideal government possible. In this kind of scenario, where the people are fully obedient to the king, having accepted the king as their own father, who is completely trustworthy, whose shelter can be relied upon, who are fully confident of the ruler's care and concern, and who are fully confident that the king will never let them down, who are fully confident that the king will supply all our needs and give us full protection. When the citizens are fully confident that the king will address all our difficulties, worries, conflicts, then they will fully surrender to such a king. They will give themselves fully to such a king. So that trust, confidence must be awakened in the citizens. But this comes by the actions of the king, how the king conducts himself, and by his actions. In Prabhupada explains in the purport that people are very fond of Rama Rajya even today. That is because of the good care, protection, confidence, affection, love which Lord Ramachandra showed towards his citizens. The citizens were not an exploitative source for the king. Unlike in many governments today, the governmental heads are trying to exploit the citizens, trying to exploit their position, trying to exploit every single resource and opportunity, exploit the power which they are having at hand today. Therefore, the citizens have no confidence on the leadership, because it is exploitative leadership. Leadership means protection, employment, care, love, affection. This is leadership. Of course, at the same time, governance. Governance means being vigilant that the citizens are properly engaged in their respective duties. That is the only thing the king should ensure, that each citizen is employed, and employed in which manner? According to their nature. Varnashtama gunanvitaha, swadharma niratha varnashtama gunanvitaha. They should do their respective duties, which is prescribed or designated for them in particular. That designated duty is as per one's varnashtama situation. So the citizens must be engaged in work, proper authorized work. That is the duty of the Kshatriya. And they must be obedient to the laws of the state. Now this will follow the moment there is good leadership. Therefore governance becomes very easy. It will be at one's fingertips. But for this to happen, the citizens must be devotees. If they're devotees, naturally they will accept Varnashtama Dharma. Naturally they'll be obedient to the system of system of management. One place Prabhupada says, governance or management becomes easy if people are Krishna conscious, if there are devotees to rule over. Becomes very easy. Therefore, the king's primary duty is to see that every citizen becomes a devotee of Vishnu. So Prabhupada explains in the purport also. That is the very purpose of Varnashtama Dharma. What is that? The purpose of Varnashtama Dharma is not just to engage the person in one particular duty according to his material inclination and qualification. Not just that. Primarily, using this medium of work, it is actually to engage every citizen in serving Vishnu. And having a clear goal that through that work, satisfy Vishnu. Vishnur aradhyate pantha. So the purpose of work is to worship Lord Vishnu. And satisfy Lord Vishnu. Tat tosha karanam. Tat means referring to Vishnu. Tat tosha karanam. Na anya tat tosha karanam. There is no other purpose in establishing or instituting Varnashtama Dharma other than satisfying Lord Vishnu, who is the prime benefactor of the Varnashtama. The purpose of Varnashtama is to satisfy Vishnu. So it does not matter which work one is engaged in, but one should satisfy Vishnu. Then that is perfection of work. And no citizen must be unemployed. This is a very clear, one of the very basic principles which every leader must know. No one must be unengaged. In fact, Prabhupada elsewhere says that it is the duty of the government to see that every citizen is employed. Nobody must be unemployed. Because Prabhupada quotes in one lecture in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, commenting on the verse on Imam Rajarshyo Viduhu. So to that verse, Prabhupada is explaining, if the citizens are unemployed, then idle mind, devil's workshop. So if there is no engagement, if there is no serious work, designated work, then one will think of all wrong things. But if there is serious work, then where is the possibility of doing wrong activities? Today, people are not properly, either they are not engaged, not employed, or even if they're employed, it is not a scientific employment. Each one is choosing as per his whims and fancies what he wants to do. It is not as per the scientific division of Varnashtama. See, that's why the word is used. Guna anvitaha. Prabhupada says in the word meaning, all of them being qualified in that process. You see, so there's a process of allocating work. It's a process. So it's not that everybody chooses what they want. The Varnashtama system is completely, it doesn't exist today. Doesn't exist today. Everybody, according to their choice and wish, are choosing what they want to do. And because they are not well trained, they keep shifting between different kinds of occupations and jobs. And mostly people have become greedy to make money. So in any field of work they entered, they have become greedy to convert it into money. So that is not Varnashrama Dharma. As per the Varnashrama scientific division, only one Varna is allowed to earn money in an ethical way, in a proper way. And they are the Vaishya community. And everybody cannot enter Vaishya Varna. They will not be allowed. It is just like if you're a lawyer and then you want to do surgery, will the government allow that? They will not allow. Or you're a doctor but you want to do business, will the government allow? They will not allow. You're a worker, say, by your profession, you're a worker and you want to rule the citizens as the chief minister, prime minister. Will it be allowed? It will not be allowed. So one has to be qualified. What is that qualification? That Varnashrama decides. Based on studying that person. What is that study? What is that criteria of deciding who does what? Whether one is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya or Shudra, who decides? And on what basis? The Bhagavad Gita chapter 4 text 13 describes this very nicely. Guna karma vibhagashaha swa anushtitasya dharmasya samsiddhi. Chaturmanya maya shishtam guna karma vibhagashaha tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam. Lord Krishna tells Arjuna, Chaturmanya maya srishtam. Krishna is saying this Chaturmanya maya srishtam, I created. So God has created this scientific division of Varna. But what is the basis? Guna karma vibhagashaha. On the basis of guna and karma. Quality of work, quality and work. Quality refers to the guna, whether one is in sattva guna, rajoguna or tamoguna. Or a combination of these things. And what kind of combination does that person possess? Then, which work he is inclined to do. He is good at doing. Karma. Based on that, the work is designated or allocated, prescribed. So who does that? The Guru, the spiritual master. The Varnashrama system insists that all the male children come to the ashrama of the Guru for personal training by the Guru. You cannot sit at home and expect that the Guru come to your home and teach you. No, you have to come to the Gurukula. School will not come to your house. You should go to the school to study. Right? Similarly, people should come to the temple in today's system and learn about the science of Varnashrama and how to worship Vishnu and satisfy Vishnu. Elsewhere, Prabhupada says very nicely, the criteria of this Varnashrama is in contemporary words to understand, because guna karma sometimes people don't understand. What is this sattva guna, rajoguna? So Prabhupada makes it simple by saying, based on the physiological and psychological condition of the individual is a scientific explanation of Varnashrama. So how is it decided? Based on the physiological criterion and the psychological status or condition of the person, the work is designated to him. And one has to do that. Otherwise he'll be a misfit. He'll not be comfortable. He'll become restless very soon. It's very interesting. If one is not engaged according to Varnashrama, very soon he will become restless. His mind will become disturbed because he is not fitting in to the particular work. It is not comfortable for him. So that is why likes is one thing. Doing what I like is one thing. Little time only you will do that. You know why? So this psychology we have to understand from Bhagavatam. If we are operating in the mode of doing always what we like, very soon the opposite of like is called dislike. You will start disliking. When you start disliking, you will give up that work. Because this like and dislike are two sides of the coin. So the mind keeps switching between likes and dislikes. The same thing what I like now, after some time I will start disliking. We have seen that, right? As children, we would have desired so many things. But as we grow, our likes change. Our dislikes also change. Our dislikes will become likes. Our likes will become dislikes. This is a very complicated mind structure we have. Because no training. What is the basis of liking something? What is the basis of disliking something? Is there any basis? There is no such basis. If there's a basis, he is a trained man. There's no basis, he is an untrained person. For such an untrained person, he has no control over himself, what he is going to be, what he is going to do, what he will be, what he will not be. He cannot say. It is unpredictable. And if you imagine an individual like this, if the whole society is like this, how can anybody rule the government, rule the people? How can anybody take the reins of the government? And even if he becomes a leader, how can he rule the citizens? The citizens are not principled. Their behavior is not predictable. Then how can the king rule? Okay, their behavior is not predictable. So the king should train them. And that training is called Varnashrama Dharma. So Prabhupada says, just like there are schools and colleges to train people to become doctors, lawyers, Prabhupada says chemical engineers, and he also says, interesting, see how contemporary Prabhupada is. Very practical. So to train chemical engineers, lawyers, and he also says, another interesting point here. I want the exact word. And specialists in many other departments of knowledge. Similarly, there must be schools and colleges to train people in Varnashrama Dharma. How to become Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. How to become Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. There must be training. You just don't pick up what you want. Like you go to a supermarket and take your trolley and keep on putting what you want. You see the children particularly, the parents will put what is needed into the trolley. The children, whatever they feel, they like, they'll keep putting. Is there a need for it? Do I fit in? So many criterions are there. So, I may like to do so many things, but I may not be capable of doing. I may not be qualified to do. Or, I am supposed to do something, but I am not inclined to do. You see? Then what happens? There will be a psychological means, in simple words, mind. So there will be a disturbance in the mind. If I am not fitting to what it is comfortable to me, there will be a disturbance in the mind. Then always there will be disturbance. So all these things are considered in Varnashrama Dharma. So what is Brahmana? What is Kshatriya? What is Vaishya? What is Shudra? Should be well defined. And who fits in? has to be studied. After training, that individual has to be studied where he fits in finally. Where does he show more interest and where is he more good at? So that has to be observed by the Guru, and then accordingly the work has to be given. So that is the duty of the Kshatriya. So Kshatriya should ensure that Brahmana is doing his Brahmana's duty, Vaishya is doing Vaishya's duty, Shudra is doing Shudra's duty. And there is a counter check. Brahmana also. So the Kshatriya should ensure that Brahmana is doing Brahmanical duty and Vaishya and Shudra. The Brahmana also ensures cross-checking. The Brahmana also ensures that the Kshatriya is doing his duty. The Vaishya and Shudras are engaged properly. Just like we have in the government, that's ruling party and the opposition party. The idea is that both keeps a check on each other so that the citizens don't suffer. They are well cared for. If the ruling party becomes political, becomes uncaring for the citizens, becomes exploitative, becomes partial, and starts siding towards different sections of the society, the opposition party will raise these issues and keep them in control. So it's a very nice system, but then it is not being followed. Why? There is no training. And what is the training? That's the whole subject matter. What is a Brahmana? Who can become a Brahmana? If you fulfill all these criteria, then only you will be given Brahmana Diksha, otherwise not. Jai Krishna Balaram Gaudiya Prabhupada ki jai. So it's not a question of one's liking or a question of comparison. Oh, he has got, why I will not get? No, you must be qualified with all the Brahmanical qualities. Then you get the Brahmana Diksha. Similarly, Kshatriya, it's not that everybody can become a leader. One must be qualified. It is not Kshatriya, no doubt, is control and power, no doubt. But behind this, exercising this power and control, fundamentally, foundationally, there must be care, love, affection, the way Lord Ramachandra had for his citizens. He treated the citizens as his own children. Whether the ruler, the leader has such kind of concern, such attitude, has to be seen. Then the leadership qualities. And he should also be intelligent and capable to engage different people accordingly. Not that everybody, just like classless society today is a very fashionable proposition. Actually not proposition, has become very fashionable, classless society. No class. Everybody is equal. That creates great confusion in the society. There cannot be a classless society. At the same time, there cannot be only one class of society. There must be work division. How can the society work or function otherwise, you tell me? Just like a society requires lawyers, they require engineers, they require doctors, they require businessmen, they require workers, they require accountants, they require workmen, they require carpenters. Everybody is required. It is not that, imagine if the whole society only lawyers. Everybody all over the world, 7 billion population, only lawyers, only doctors, only workers. It doesn't function like that. It doesn't work like that. There's a work division. Everybody is needed in the society. Everybody is needed, and each other's help is uh, enjoyed or shared with the other, and then uh, this paves the path for practicing spiritual life. But the most important thing is, after setting one's work comfortably, if one does not take up spiritual life, then such work is simply an endeavor, a waste endeavor, futile. Just like today, the governments, either they're not caring for the citizens that they're employed, or if they're employed, whether they're employed scientifically. Suppose even if, let us assume there's a government which has ensured that all their citizens are employed. But if the purpose of the employment is not achieved, then it is waste. What is that? To become devotees of the Lord, to go back to Godhead, to conquer over birth and death. That is the purpose. To worship the Lord, to satisfy the Lord by one's work. Otherwise it is waste. This can be understood by a simple example, a very practical example. Let me share. This, like, if there are about 1,000 workers in a company, each of them, the work division is done, and they're all engaged in the respective work. They're doing the work very nicely. But whether the boss is satisfied, whether he's happy with your work, that has to be seen. If he is not happy, if you're not able to please the boss by your work, then all your endeavor is shrama eva hi kevalam, simply shrama. Sometimes we have seen, right? You may be working very hard, but finally the boss will come and say, "What have you done? This is totally waste. Scrap it," he will say. Finished. You become so unhappy. Yes. You should know what kind of work will satisfy my boss, and you should be engaged in that kind of work. Not that you work simply for the sake of working. As today some philosophy is there. One section of the people talk, just work, that's all. Don't have to worry about anything. No. You cannot blindly work. The work has a goal, to satisfy the boss, to achieve the result of that work. So the result of every human endeavor must be, if not, must be to satisfy Vishnu. If you don't know, you should make this affirmation. You should know this goal. Otherwise, you'll be wasting your time. You'll be wasting your time. Just like every level it is there. You have to satisfy your supervisor. Supervisor has to satisfy his manager. Manager has to satisfy the boss. That is the system. So ultimately, whether the Supreme Lord is satisfied by my work, then that work that work achieves perfectional state. So therefore, not only engaging people in their respective work, but government means, ruling means, the leader must also ensure that his praja are also becoming Krishna conscious in the course of their work. Otherwise, he'll have a tough time. That's what Prabhupada says. Simply enforcing laws and ordinance cannot make the citizens obedient and lawful. They must be trained. Then only it is possible. Then, once they are trained, you don't have to enforce, because they know they're supposed to do that. They will do it. Every day, you cannot keep insisting with rules. So that requires training. When training happens, then he knows. Just like, a responsible father, he'll get up in the morning, do his morning rituals according to his Varnashrama Dharma, and then he'll go for his work because he has taken responsibility of the family. So he'll go to work. Whether he's sick or he's healthy, he will go to his work and he will execute his duty systematically. It's very natural. We have seen that in so many cases. So like that, every citizen must be engaged. So when they feel responsible, they will do it. If they don't feel responsible, the leadership means to create that sense of responsibility in that individual. That is leadership. Okay, he is not responsible. So we should think of ways and means how to create that sense of responsibility in that individual. He should also feel for it. Then he will execute by force. So how to give that sense of responsibility? Value system. You should create value. Why this is important for you or for everybody concerned or for your near and dear ones. So create that value in him. Let him feel that value. Now you have value, you do. But the other person, he will do only when he feels the value. So if the value is not given, he will not do. He think it's okay, he will neglect. But if he has the value for it, just like, so that is why, for example, even a grahastha, it's a life of responsibility. Actually, Varnashtama dharma is such that whichever Varna Ashtama you belong, it's a life of responsibility, not irresponsibility. That is why one has to get tagged to one of the Varna, one of the Ashtama, must and should. Otherwise, he is a vagabond. You cannot bring out any good from him, for himself or for others. So therefore, the value has to be given. Why this is important for him and how it will benefit him, how it will benefit his family, then his society, then the country, then the world at large. So that has to be given. So that is leadership. That is the duty of the Kshatriya. The Kshatriya takes guidance from the Brahmana, who is well learned in the Shastra and in the intricacies of this Varnashtama dharma. He is well trained. A Brahmana, that's why the very word Brahmana means Brahma Jnana. That means knowledge of absolute truth. That means he knows the truth. That means he is learned. Therefore is called Pandita, as Prabhupada says. He is not a Murkha. He is a Pandita. He is a learned man. He knows how to engage. Only when after knowing and being capable leader to engage every citizen, if they disagree, then he will enforce. Only and only then. Not otherwise. And that enforcing is also for his good. So it's a great science. It takes time to learn this art. So Lord Ramachandra, of course, being the Lord himself, was genius and master in this regard. And more than governance became automatic. Because he cared for the citizens like his own children, and the citizens accepted Lord Rama as their father. Therefore, they accepted his ruling. Just like your father tells, hey, do this, you will happily do. Suppose the neighbor tells, do this. Hey, who are you to tell me? Why are you demanding? Why are you commanding? Why are you ordering me? Are you my father? A child, no? Suppose a neighbor, somebody on the street says, hey, do this. Say, are you my father? The natural question comes, right? So that means what? Psychologically, if you are a father, if the father is accepted, leadership is accepted. So that's why Prabhupada also said, a leader is a father. Then it is very easy to run an organization, to rule the government, to rule the citizens. Otherwise it is difficult. So citizens should feel that confidence on the leader. So Lord Ramachandra ruled in that way. Therefore the citizens were very happy. He had a lot of care and concern for the citizens. The citizens also reciprocated. They were also very obedient to Lord Ramachandra because they accepted him. They saw in him a good leader and a kind leader, but a strong leader also. It's a very interesting combination and dynamics in a leader. He is good, kind, strong, bold, affirmative. All of them together makes a leader. Leader cannot be timid also at the same time. He has to be bold and affirmative, at the same time kind and compassionate. So all these things has to be balanced and uh, exercised by the leader. So Lord Ramachandra, Lord Krishna, perfect leaders, and the Lord's devotees, Yudhishthira Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, great ideal leaders. The world saw, therefore the citizens were happy in those days. So today also people prefer Ramarajya. So that means even in today's government, if Lord Rama's teachings and system of management and Lord Krishna's system of management is introduced in the schools and colleges, not only system of management, system of education, and giving them Krishna consciousness, Rama consciousness, then you can experience Rama Raja today also. So that is the duty of the government. Now they should take this call. So I'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.